Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome again. Yeah, today we are continuing with our series of ethical hacking, and we are going to discuss about using Kali Linux for network enumeration, specifically focusing on the tools called Nmap. Now, before we proceed, I want you to understand that the material that I've used, this document, I've attached in the description of the video, so that we don't need to repeat reading every English word to save time, so that other stuffs you can just read on your own, and so that we focus on the core demonstration. So you can just download the materials and go with us. And remember, at the bottom of this material, we have the so-called Nmap cheat sheet, where we have written the common commands that we normally use in their description. So you better go through them. So without further ado, let us proceed. So this Nmap tool is the most common tool used for mapping the network and knowing the list of services in the host and the ports and so and so. As you can see, it can do all these scanning types here. It's possible by using this Nmap tool, from the OS detection, service enumeration, and even having the specialized script within the package. And of course, the same tools can be used for so many use cases. As you can see, you can just read them by your own. But here we want to cover the core part of how to use this tool. So you need to have the attacking machine prepared for you. As you can see, we are using Kali Linux, but at the other end, you need to have your target machine. For us, will be our target machine, 10.0.2.4. So let us see how can we use Nmap. Let's starting from here. So we need to open our window and of course, then running the command. This is the very basic way of using Nmap. Yes, as you can see here, you write the command nmap, then you specify the given IP. Then you press enter, you wait for it to run. So by default, this command is going to see if this host is live and then doing the port scanning. As you can see by just that command, we get all the open ports and their status. Of course, I mean, the variable ports, the ports number, the type of traffic flowing through it, the status, whether they are open, filtered, closed, or what, and the service learning. By that, just simple commands. So that is how we get the information by using Nmap. But you can learn more about this command by typing man then nmap, because the tool is known as nmap. And of course, this is the common way of finding help for any tool you find in Linux distribution. So here is the full manual of how can you use these tools for doing the host enumeration, operating system detection, service fingerprinting, all those stuffs. That is the manual that you can use to make the most of it. So continuing with our labs, now we know that also we can use Nmap. The default option was providing the port scanning by default. Now, what if we don't need to do port scanning? We just need to do the so-called host discovery. The particular host, is it live in the network? So if we could remove this and running this as it was in the first instance, this is the default one, we saw what it does. But now we want to disable port scanning so that we just get the feedback whether the particular host is up or not up. There is where we can learn it that way. This is the switch that tells Nmap, don't do port scanning. Just tell me whether this particular host is up or not up. And you can see it gives you one IP address, the host is up. So we call it host discovery. And of course, under normal circumstance, when we are doing penetration testing or we are using it for different cases, as we have just highlighted in this manual, we need to save our scanning. So to save it, you execute your particular nmap command, then you use this switch here. You use hyphen, then or, then here you specify what formatting of output you need for this particular scanning. If I put A, it means I want it to output or to save this output of this scanning to all possible formatting provided by Nmap, which is XML, grepub, Nmap format, and all other format. But I can also specify particular format, like maybe I want specific for XML or I want specific for other format. But for easier way, I just specify all format. So it means it's going to do the scanning as it did in the first instance, but this time it's going to store the output, not just displaying them on the screen, but it will store the output in the target file for all possible formats. So relearning it, as you can see, the output you see in the screen as usual. But now if you list file, you will realize that there are these 4 files added. All these are the output corresponding to this format here. One for XML, one for Nmap, one for Nmap grepable. So that is what we normally do, because whatever scanning that you are doing, you better store it so that you can refer it next time, or even in reporting it. But that is not enough. The output that is in the XML format, you can use this tool now to convert that particular output in the XML format, which is this one, to be in HTML format, so that you can view the report in the way that even the non-technical people can use. Remember, it's just the report of your Nmap scanning. So this is the tool we are going to use. It's that different tool. It's now, this tool is not an Nmap tool. This is a separate tool that is, you can find it in your default Kali Linux distribution. So it's called XSLT block, and you specify the target XML file, because remember, these tools convert XML to HTML. So this is the target that we want, the Nmap scanning that is in XML. We specified it here because we are in the same directory. We don't need to put the full path. And then we put the switch that is -o to specify the name of the output. So we want this XML to be converted to HTML. And this is for any XML document, but now we are using to make the most of network enumeration, so that our scanning result can be in a way that even if you share with other people, can easily read and understand it. So we run it, and there it is. So if we list file now, we will realize that there is this target.html file, it was not there. And we can go to home directory where we are actually, to view the actual document, this one, target.html. So we can view it. It's still Nmap scanning, but now as you can see, it is presented in a way that is easier for you to share and easier for anyone to make them sense of the results, as it was there, the port, the type of traffic, the state, the service, based on the command, because that command that we have run, it does not include the version and the extra information in the product. So it, as you can see, as we keep on learning the variation of the Nmap, whatever the variation that you are going to use, if you export it to XML, then using this tool, you are going to export the same to 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 HTML. That is easier for you to share and to use. So that's it for targeting. That's it. So now we have seen how to list the IP. If you could just write Nmap and the IP, as we saw in the first instance, it works. But also you can use a CIDR annotation. Like you can just maybe want to scan all the IP in this particular class of a network. So if I say it /24, you guys, you know, it means the first 3 octet are for the network, the last one is for the host. So all the hosts in that particular network, they are going to be scanned and you're going to see the results. But also if you want to specify individual IP, you can just separate them by space, as you can see here. And of course, you can use also Nmap by specifying the particular text file that has your IP listing. So for instance, we can try to demonstrate this one. I can prepare host list here, a file called the host list. There it is. Then I'm going to use Nano to add some IP in this file. And of course, as for my case, I just have one IP live. But here you can add as many IP as possible. Let's say that if you have this another IP.15, which is my own machine, of course. You can also add another, my own attacking machine, the Kali Linux. You can add as many as possible. So if you have finished adding them, you can have it there. As you can see now, we have this IP here. So if we tell to list the IP, those are the IP in that particular file. So we can relearn Nmap. Instead of specifying the IP as this one, now we are telling Nmap the IP list is in this file. And this is the switch that we are going to use, hyphen I, and then the capital L. So it's going to do the same scanning, but now it's going to use the IP in your specified file. And of course, if you want it to also store the output of the same, we use the switch that we have already covered. So we learn it and we are waiting for the results. Then there it is. It has done for the that particular. And you can see now it tells you two IP addresses. One host is up, the other one is not up. So you can see the address were two, but the only one that is up is, I mean, there is just one host that is up among the two IP. So at the results also, you can see them now in the particular output file. So that is how we can use it by specifying the IP list from the file. So also we can use Nmap for host and port scanning, and that is what it means to do to see the open ports and its service, their version, and more information provided, and even the operating system. So we have been using it for port scanning, of course, but here we are just talking more about the option that we can use for port scanning. We can specify the port, because there we will just use the default port scanning. Now here we can be more explicit, like maybe we want it not just to do the port scanning here, but we want it to scan a particular port. So if we use this option like -p, it means it's all ports without being specific for a particular port. But if you want for a particular port, like maybe port 21, we can just say -p dot port 21. If you want to separate maybe with port 22, we can add it there. If you want to say in a range like port 21, maybe to this port, we can also specify it that way. So you can see I've executed this last option, port 21, to this particular last port. So this is how we specify the port that we want to be concerned with. But also we can add another important switch that which we can use now to tell Nmap now not just to give us the service, but also we need to have the version number of that particular service. Remember, the default option was like this, and there were no service version. So we can tell Nmap, please also tell us the service version. That is a switch we are using, -s, and of course V. If we are using that, of course, it's going to take a little bit more time than the previous one, because it is going to do more than just a normal port scan. But then at the end of the days, we are going to see the version of the particular service. There it is. That's the result. So you can see there is another column here for version. There we see the version of the service learning. And of course, we know, as we saw in the hacking study, this is very important to know the version of your service so that you can be very specific on your attacking model. Now, the last part that I want us to understand, Nmap also has its own built-in script engine, and we can use those script engines to do more tasks. These are the kind of the script possible for our determining for auth for determining the authentication credentials. So you can read. I don't need, as I said, I don't need to read all this. That's why I'm sharing this file. The default is just a default script that does the most important script, most important scanning that you need to do, like OS fingerprinting, the SMB service, and so on. So you can use whatever script that you want to use by just specifying the name here. So if I will use Nmap with the switch like this one, Nmap, just like here, Nmap, then specifying C as lowercase s and then a C. Then here I'm telling it to use a default script. And I know by this document here, the default script is this one. These are the default script executed by using this option script. So I can try to learn it so that it uses the default script and see the results. Of course, it's going to take time and I need to wait for it to complete. But I can specify a particular script. As you can see, there are other scripts for fuzzing, for exploit, for external, and here is what those particular script does. So for instance, there is this script vulnerability, this identification of specific vulnerability. I can use the script switch now so that I can specify a custom script, because that one that I'm waiting for, this one, is the default script. What if I want to use it for a custom script? So I'm using the normal command Nmap, I specify the target, then I'm using double hyphen, then script switch, then I'm specifying the particular script. So here, instead of this vulnerable, I can specify any other script here, but you just need to know what that script does before you specify it and executing it. So if I will run this vulnerable, this is going to identify vulnerability, but this is going to take time. And of course, as you can see, the first one has not even finished. But because I've already relearned this one before executing this video, this is the result of running the vulnerable script. So this is a result. So you can see all the vulnerability for your particular target if I will just tell Nmap to use the vulnerable script. So it's your task now for you to go through it and read it line by line as we have covered in the hacking stages. We need to make the most of every output that we get. So the default script also, it has been executed, and here are the results. As we see in the hacking stage, now we need to read each and everything here and making sense of it. So in a nutshell, this is Nmap, and this is how can we use Nmap for our penetration testing. And I've included the links for you to know more about the technique, and of course the cheat sheet of Nmap, the most common command that we are using, the one that we have covered so far, but other that we have not covered, but they are common in the normal penetration testing use case. So this is Nmap for network and the host and service enumeration, and we are going to use it, of course, from here onwards in our penetration testing endeavor. That's it for today. Have a nice day.